Hey guys, Rodney Miller with Hard Money Partner. Hey, today I'm going to interview a couple, Emily and Jason. They started a note buying business. They buy performing and defaulted notes, and we'll talk about kind of the difference between those two. But I found them through a note that I had going bad in my hard money business and put it up on a website called Paper Stack, and they purchased the note off me. So I decided I would talk to them about the process. At the time, I had sold them the note and they were going to take it over and pursue foreclosure. Stay to the end of this video. It's got a really cool ending. I want you to see what happened with that note. And it's been maybe 6 weeks. It's been several weeks since I interviewed them. We were just getting this interview up and ready to post out. And then I got an update from Emily. All right, enjoy the video. Hey guys, Rodney Miller here with Hard Money Partner. Today we got Jason Cameron and Emily Thompson on the show. Hey guys, how you doing?
Great, thanks.
Doing well.
So Jason is a full-time real estate investor and property manager, and he was an IT guy and was able to leave his job within 3 years of starting his career in real estate, which is pretty impressive. And Emily is an optometrist at Tinker Air Force Base. Is that where Tinker Air Force Base? That's her day job, and she has recently gotten into the note business. I don't know how recently, but we'll talk about that. But she's now a note investor, and we'll explain what that is because a lot of you probably have no idea. But that's her night job, and she has a 2-year goal to shed her day job and invest in notes full time. So, and on top of that, you guys have kids, right?
Just a furry cat.
Oh, a furry cat? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. And they have a furry cat. So welcome to the show, guys. It's great to have you here. And notes is it's something I've always been fascinated with. I always was really interested in the financial paper side of the real estate business. And so I find this stuff fascinating. And I think everybody should know a little bit about what goes on in the paper side of the business, because that's a whole other business that people don't even realize, what the opportunities are and how creative you can get on the paper side. So really cool to have this discussion. You guys, on top of all this stuff you're doing, your full-time jobs, you're investing, you guys volunteer at the MP RIA group. I noticed that the other night. I met you guys up there. I went up there. I haven't been there in like a decade. And you guys are working the crowd and volunteering. So good for you guys, man. You guys you're a busy couple.
Well, so, the MP group is a large part of the reason why I was able to accelerate and quit my job within 3 years. And volunteering with that group gave me a level of access greater than just somebody who only attends it. And
sure.
So they helped me hit my goals in a rapid manner. So I've been pretty faithful to going back and giving back to that group.
Cool. That's really awesome, man. And I think you were part of the, were you in Ron and Angelina? Were you in there? You weren't in their program. Okay.
No, I did we were in the Robert and Linda when they did their first year of coaching.
Sure. Okay. I remember when they launched that, and now they just live on the beach in Hawaii. So they're living the good life.
We did their new house.
What's that?
We saw their new house before they bought it.
Oh, really?
We were on a trip to visit them.
Oh, nice. Are they on the water? I don't know. They don't invite me out there to see them, so I have no idea.
They used to be on the water in a little tiny condo. Their new place is, I think, maybe 2 miles from the beach.
Gotcha. And they're on Maui, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. From those of you guys that don't know, Robert Elder was the head of the MP RIA group. He was an attorney, and I need to get him on the show, and wound up owning 300 houses or something. Insane amount of houses.
He was up to somewhere between 600 and 800 doors.
Holy crap.
At the time he moved to Maui.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Really, and I'm not sure where he's at today.
He's probably surfing somewhere. So
cool,
guys. What's that?
I meant in terms of how many houses he was.
Oh, okay.
He manages.
Okay, yeah. So, well, guys, so let's talk a little bit about, you guys you're two very successful people. You probably went to school a long time for these, careers you have. They're pretty technical careers and invested a lot of time and effort in getting those. But at some point you decided you wanted more and you wanted to venture off and become entrepreneurs and try something different. What was the deciding factor there for you guys to want to get out of your trained professions and get into something, you know, a little more entrepreneurial and real estate related?
I wouldn't say that it was some giant aha moment. We had lived in Texas together for a few years, and we moved back to Oklahoma City. And Jason, I had a job. I lined up already, and Jason didn't have a job. So he's like, oh, I'll just find an IT job when I get back. And he was having a hard time finding what he wanted. And one day we were driving around, and we saw one of those bandit "We Buy Houses" signs. And I'm like, hey, you could be a slumlord.
Slumlord.
And that's how it began.
All right.
So our houses are not slums. They're nice houses.
Yeah, I know you're just kidding. So there was a guy in our group, and he had the WeBuyCrackHouses.com, and we just laughed. Yeah, he got that. He got that deal. I think he got all the crack houses out of that. So
people remember.
yeah, exactly. So okay, cool, very cool. So we're going to talk a little more about the note business here, because that's the paper side, and just kind of really interested. And we did a transaction together, and we'll talk about that a little bit and how that's how we met through our transaction. So let's talk a little bit about the note business. What can you kind of explain what the note business is and what attracted you to the note business?
Sure. So I first learned about notes and the mortgage note business around 2018 when we were doing our coaching program with Robert and Linda. Their mentor from Texas came and did a presentation on like building your business credit. And he talked about his investments and how he just like casually mentioned that he was in mortgage notes. And I'm like, that sounds really interesting. And it just didn't fit at the time for us, but we've still kind of been thinking about it. And last October 2021, we had someone visit the MP meeting and do a presentation about the notes. And it was with Eddie Speed Note School in Dallas, Texas. And we signed up as soon as we could. Jason had just finished doing a pretty big refinance, so we had some cash to play with because you do need some capital to start investing in the note business, as I'm sure you're aware. So we had some money freed up that he let me use to start building our business. So I've had my company since January of 2022. And so I've been buying things as fast as I can.
Oh, very cool. And I've been to the Eddie Speed. I think we discussed this. I went to an Eddie Speed event in Dallas a year and a half ago, maybe, or when he had one of those big events. I paid $1,200 or $1,000 or something to go there. It was very interesting. He seems like he knows his stuff. He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
And so, are you pretty happy with? So you went all in with Eddie Speed. You went into the coaching.
Yep.
Is it a mastermind group or a coaching group? I can't remember what it is, but you guys went all in and got everything they had, basically, didn't you?
Yep, we bought the big package. So it's a 4-year coaching program, and we have calls that we can listen to 3 times a week. And then there are different topics. So talking about creative financing, notes that perform, notes that don't perform, ways to market your business. So it's all around. They have pretty much everything covered as far as the process for buying notes and the education behind all that, and also how to market and grow your business to be able to achieve your financial goals.
Awesome. So you pretty much covered A to Z, yeah.
Yes, it's pretty interesting. They've got the base training to tell you how, and then these calls, which are closer to somewhere between coaching and a mastermind, in that they're all recorded, they're searchable based on keywords, and it is a real-time discussion of the concepts that you can learn through the educational material that you've already been able to go through.
Okay.
Students bring deals to the talk that they say their numbers and talk about like the seller's motivation. Listening to Eddie talk about how a deal you think is never going to make sense when it's like a mom and pop 0% interest note, the way he spins it, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Done this a few times.
Very creative, very creative. So you're pretty happy with the program, and it's a pretty hefty price tag, like a lot of stuff is. I mean, like when I did a multifamily coaching program out of DFW, and I think I paid like $35,000 for the damn thing. But I mean, I got my first deal out of there, met my partners there, and all that. So you guys wrote a hefty check for this program. How do you feel about that? Were you nervous writing that check, wondering if you were going to get your value out of this deal, or how do you feel about spending money on education? I mean, because they say you go to college and get an education to get a job, but what is the saying there? There's a saying there that you after college
pay for an education, or you're going to pay for a education, or you're going to pay for an education.
Yeah, exactly.
School, or you get taken in the streets.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So you pay it up front. You go with somebody that knows what they're doing, and you do it the right way. Hopefully the person you hire knows what they're doing, because there's some folks out there
that for education. If you vet the person providing the education beforehand, and they are actually providing valid education and coaching, it's worth it. I would say this one wasn't as scary as the first time we paid a big chunk of money for education, because I paid a hefty chunk for the 12-month with Robert and Linda Elder.
Gotcha.
And Emily was, if I remember correctly, very nervous about that.
I was terrified.
I believe that was a 6-figure check, wasn't it?
No, it was 5 figures.
5 figures.
Oh, I think he never got up to 6 figures. I thought somebody told me he's $100,000 towards the end or whatever. So I don't. Okay.
The inaugural was probably lower. I don't know what he got up there towards the end, but yes, as he had less and less time, and they do devote a lot of knowledge and resources to the students. So
I'm sure
it was really worth it, because we had with him a 6-month guarantee. If you have not in the first 6 months had 100% return of your money in terms of equity and deals where you had made more money than you'd spent, he would refund the price of admission, and you could have all the knowledge you gained in 6 months for free. Well, my first deal, I was already over that number, and that was in month 2.
Wow. Okay. So, and you quit your job. You quit your job after, was it 3 years? I mean, that's pretty.
It was about 18 months after the beginning of that program that I had replaced 100% of my W-2 income with outside income, and ended up having to quit my job, basically.
Nice.
Because I couldn't afford to go to work.
I like that. I like it. So let's talk about notes. So from what I understand, there's two types of notes, really: performing and non-performing or defaulting notes. So explain what a performing note is, and then explain what a default note is.
Sure. So a performing note is exactly what it sounds like. The borrower is paying their payments on time, and so they are consistent and may fall behind by 30 to 60 days. That's still considered a performing note, but they're consistently making their payments, and they're on track to pay off their loan as it's written. So the non-performing note is where the person has stopped making payments for whatever reason, and usually we consider it non-performing after 90 to 180 days. Depends on what the state is for like foreclosure processes. But the person has stopped making their payments, and so you have options as the borrower, or as the lender, to be able to work things out with the borrower. So like if they have some kind of medical issue and they have a bunch of medical bills now, a small like business owner versus Chase or Wells Fargo, you have the option to work with the person and be able to modify the note to get them back on track. Or you can do much like rental properties, cash for keys, which is called a deed in lieu in the note world. So I can say, hey, you can't afford this house anymore. It doesn't seem like you're super attached to it. Why don't we just let you sign over the deed to the house to me? I will say that your lien, your mortgage has been satisfied, and then we don't have to go through a nasty foreclosure process that will end up on your record. Or if the person doesn't want to cooperate with you, then we go through the legal process of foreclosure and take the property back if we need to.
Gotcha. So we'll back up even further for people that have no clue what a note is. This is a note on a piece of real estate. Okay. Like a single family home. When you buy a house, you have a note, a promise to pay. And then you have a note like a mortgage, which is a security instrument that secures that promise to pay and is filed. So nobody can sell that for money or whatever. So you guys strictly are handling real estate notes, correct?
The big definition that I found really helpful, we say note, and most people outside of this think of it or understand it to be the promissory note, which is one half of the mortgage and note, at least for the state of Oklahoma. Other names for what a mortgage is, whether it's a deed, mortgage. But the promissory note is just says, this is how I'm supposed to pay what I borrowed from you.
Gotcha. And so there's a whole business on trading notes on the huge industry. There's an industry backing notes, and there's private equity groups and all that stuff. And when your bank does a note with you and you sign a note on your house, they usually turn around and sell that off to somebody else. And this is kind of no different, just on a smaller scale. You're going around looking for notes that you can purchase. A lot of your notes, I guess, are they would you just say owner finance notes? Like somebody sells a house to somebody else and they carry back the paper.
Most of them are some form of privately originated note.
Okay.
I don't think we've bought any that were originated by a bank. Although some of them are done by other capital funds, meaning people that have created a business doing these notes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any that came originally from a bank?
I don't think so, but there's the secondary market for the notes. There's kind of like a trickle down to where it gets to the level that I would purchase them. So your big banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, they will sell off large packages of notes to hedge funds or other investment firms that have millions and billions of dollars to buy them. And then those hedge funds will sort through the ones that they want and sell off the ones that they don't. So it kind of filters down, and they can change hands many, many times before getting to investors like us. And the good news is there's a discount every time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's talk about discounts. Let's talk about, why don't you give us a couple examples of notes that you purchased, and just give an example. You purchased some performing and non-performing, right?
I have a mix of both right now.
Give us a performing note that you purchased. Give us the details of it, how you got it, and what kind of discount you got on it, what your overall return is on that.
Sure. So there are several different platforms online where you can look at notes. The one through Eddie Speed's Note School is available for anybody to become a member and look at the assets that they have available. It's called notesdirect.com. And I have bought several of my notes there when I was first starting out. You and I met through PaperStack, which is another website that is kind of like an eBay for notes, where people can list their notes. And then so there's buyers and sellers that will look through different notes that are available and contact each other and make sales agreements through that platform or otherwise. And there are a few other websites, but there are lots of, it's a people business. So I think you were probably going to Note Expo in Dallas, the conference for Eddie Speed.
That was it. Yes.
Yeah. So we went to our first Note Expo in November of last year. And so made lots of connections with other Note School students. And so the last few notes that I've been purchasing are actually from a connection that I made at Note Expo. So another Note School student who's starting a fund, and they have some assets that they're trying to kind of move around, and they have turned out to be really good options for me. So I would say that the note that I'm happiest about is one in South Carolina. And when I purchased the note, this one was from Notes Direct, and the person had been making their payments. When I bought the note, I decided to move it from one third-party note servicer to another. So I have our notes serviced by a third party who collects the payments. They make sure that taxes are paid and escrowed and the person has insurance. So they do a lot of that back office type stuff. And that keeps me compliant with Dodd-Frank, lending rules and things like that. So I had changed the servicer from one company to another. In the meantime, the borrower had tried to make some payments that were rejected because of that situation. And then I guess they fell on some hard times and were having trouble making payments.
Okay.
So a lot of people are not aware of this, especially homeowners. But with the whole COVID relief program, there have been some funds that have been dispersed to different states for them to have borrowers who have had hardships due to COVID apply for relief. So they can submit their application, and if they're approved for funding, then the payments that they missed could be their missing note payments, future note payments, backlog taxes, sometimes utilities, all kinds of things that are part of the normal, cost of home buying can be paid by this government assistance. So my particular person was approved for the South Carolina Assistance Fund. And like all government programs, it takes forever for things to actually happen. But those payments should be starting to come directly to me for my servicer in the next few weeks, I would expect. So that's a big burden that is lifted off of that borrower's shoulders. And I'm sure that they're very, happy to have been approved for that. And so that note, I think I paid around $60,000 for it. And when I purchased it, we didn't realize that there were about $5,500 worth of arrears attached to the note, which should be paid off by the assistance fund. And it has around a $65,000 or $69,000 unpaid balance. So that's how much the person owes.
Okay.
So I think my calculated yield for that one was around 10 or 11%.
Okay.
That's usually what I'm seeing right now. The note market kind of has highs and lows, just like the housing market does. And so when the interest rates are higher, people don't get as much of a discount, or you have to look harder to find higher yields on some of these notes.
Gotcha. So as a typical yield, 10 to 12%, is that kind of what you're looking for a performing note?
I would say for an active investor, we're definitely looking for 10 to 15%.
Okay.
So it just really depends on how aggressive you are at like marketing to find like maybe mom and pops, like wholesalers, they're working their buns off trying to find those really good deals. And less active investors are probably getting up, 7 to 10% right now.
Gotcha. Is it scary when you're early on in your career and you're purchasing a note on a house and across the country, that you didn't fly out there and look at it, right? I mean, you're doing everything digital, right? And you're hiring somebody to go out there and look at it for you. Is that how it works, to do some due diligence on it?
Yeah, there's a lot of due diligence. So there's a lot of homework that's involved in deciding if you want to purchase the property. It's amazing the kinds of vendors that are available out there these days. So I hire a guy who drives by, takes pictures, tells me how much he thinks it's worth based on other properties, and good old Google Earth satellite.
And you'll have to listen very close, because we say property, sometimes meaning the underlying real estate, and sometimes the property is the asset, which is the mortgage note that we are purchasing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sometimes when she said property, it was the note, and sometimes it was the actual house.
Okay. Yeah. When I think of property, I think of bricks and mortar stuff,
Well, you do want to make sure that the house itself is in good condition and is a good looking house, because that's what the asset is based, or the note is based on. Sure.
Okay. That's interesting. So that's a performing note. And so I create notes, I'm a lender, so I create notes, hard money loans, and I create them. And sometimes I sell my paper to other investors. And so I'll create a note and sell it off at a discount to other investors. And so I'm kind of in the note business, but I'm an originator. And then, so we'll talk about our deal. So here's the way our deal went down. Correct me if I missed some points, but I did a loan last year on it's an 8-unit complex, right? On an 8-unit apartment complex in a really great part of town. in Oklahoma City, and it was sitting vacant. I think there were maybe one tenant in it or something, but the owner had inherited it with some other properties, and he was going to take the money that I gave him. He was going to put it into the property, fix it up, get it rented out, and he's going to refinance me out of it. Sound like a good deal to me. So I think the ARV on the thing, or the value is somewhere around 650 or more, right? It was a good value on it. It was worth some money. It was a really good part of town. I loaned 180 on it. And I really should have, if I was smart, I would have like carved that up into disbursements, as he put the money into it. I gave him draws on it, but he was kind of nutty. Didn't really want to mess with the guy. So I just gave him all the money. The loan to value was good. So I just gave him all the money and said, okay, fix it up and then, work your plan. So I gave him all the money, and then he paid for a while on and off, and he paid a bunch up front, and then he stopped paying, and then he paid a little more. And so I got some interest out of him, and I'm not sure how much I actually got out of him. Did get some interest out, and then towards the end of the loan, he just stopped paying and stopped performing. Normally, what would happen, like you just described, here's what happened. I called the guy up, and I just said, look, let's try to figure something out here. Why aren't you paying me? Blah, 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 blah. And he just was not, people think that lenders want to take houses and they want to foreclose on people. And that's not the case at all. I want low headaches. I want to churn my money, and I want to loan to people. I want them to pay me back. And the last thing I want to do is get mixed up in that's not my business. I don't really want to get tied up in foreclosure. So try to work things out. Number one, he didn't use the funds correctly. I don't know what he did with the funds, but he put some into the building, but not enough. And he didn't really work the program and try to get it rented out. He wasn't cooperative when I talked to him on the phone about, trying to do a workout or trying to give him a chance to get going again on payments and restructuring the debt. Put it up for sale. As long as I see it up for sale, I'll give you a pass on payments. Let's get this thing sold. Got a lot of equity, pay me off, put some money in your pocket. But he didn't want to do any of that. He didn't do anything. He just ignored me. And when I did get a hold of him, he was just kind of a dick. So anyway, I was faced with, I had a couple of options. I could foreclose on him, and I started talking to an attorney and getting all the ducks in a row to foreclose. Or I could try to sell the note. And I don't know why. I'd been to that 80 speed course, and I was like, what the hell? Let's put it out on PaperStack. I remember PaperStack. And I was like, I won't get anything. This is all bullshit. And so I put it on PaperStack, and I asked for full face value. And I was like, there's no way I'll get face value.
Man, I paid too much.
No, you really didn't. I mean, you're going to come out pretty good on this. So I put it up for face value, and I did get some face value offers. I got a lot of tire kickers. And I got a lot of really low ball offers, and a lot of people that didn't follow up and stuff. But I wasn't working it that hard either. So I was really prepared to go to foreclosure. So I wasn't really working it that hard. But Jason reached out to me a few times, and we went back and forth. And I really wasn't that engaged, was I, Jason? I was like, "It's real. This is kind of bullshit," And so,
no, you definitely didn't seem to be very engaged. You had a lot of other things going on, and of course, we're busy people as well. So it took us 2.5 months from the time we started talking until we had come to an agreement.
But you were persistent, and so you kept popping up, and I was like, screw it, man. Let's just give this a shot. And so still didn't think it was gonna work out. You had to do your due diligence and all that and everything. Anyway, so it did work out. You guys came and you decided that it was a good deal for you, and it kind of fit your parameters. And so we were able to do this deal to where you purchased it for the $108,000 face value. And, the loan goes into when it goes into default, it goes to 24% interest rate at default. And so it's just a lesson here. Just, try to do a workout with your lender, because it's to your best interest. But for the pain and the hassle and having to take it, we go to 24% default rate. And so you guys get to realize that 24%. And so it's kind of a win-win. You guys bought a note that you could, you can realize the 24% if you have to take it to foreclosure. And I'll ask you here in a minute what's happened since, because I haven't talked to you, and I don't know if you've worked anything out, or maybe you worked some magic or something. I don't know. But the win for me was that I got full face value, and then it was in my IRA. It was an IRA loan. I really didn't want my IRA to go through a foreclosure process. I didn't want it to be in a lawsuit. So it's just easier for me just to sell the note and let somebody else. Everybody's like, why don't you just keep it 24%, man? You make a killing. I was like, I just didn't want to screw with it, man. I want to get my money back and just reloan it out to somebody else and move on to another deal. And definitely didn't want my IRA tied up in that. So I got some interest out of the deal and I got my face value of the note back. So I was pretty happy. And you guys got a pretty good deal. So what happened after that?
So we tried to contact them via phone, via text. We've sent a letter.
I've emailed.
We've tried to reach out. The borrower is, as you mentioned, not cooperative. He hasn't contacted us back. At the same time, Emily's been talking to the attorneys. She wants to handle the foreclosure. And we had given him until today, actually, to contact us and we can work something out. If not, we just pursue foreclosure with the full force. Yep. The interesting thing we found going through your paperwork and going through the payment history and the insurance and everything, this is one of the additional industry terms. If you don't pay for your insurance, the lender can force place insurance, and that's something that you pay for. Well, in your documentation, the mortgage and note you created, event of default is the beginning of that 24% interest. And one of the events of default is failure to provide insurance. So he's been accruing 24% interest on his debt since I think June.
Okay.
When you, I think it was June when you put fourth place insurance in place.
It sounds right. Yeah. I think Patty handled that, but yeah, it's been a while. You know, it's
So-
really funny because I really thought that I thought our notes, I don't really dive into these because I haven't had a foreclosure up until now, but I thought that they went to 24% from day one of the loan if you went into default, but I guess they don't. That's still, you know.
Once you have an event of default, you are in the default rate until you
Okay.
come out of that or work something out.
Gotcha.
So as you mentioned, talk to your lenders, work something out, because I won't enforce the default rate until we start talking about going to court.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point, I'm going to put everything that I'm able to do into it, because at this point I'm taking the house back. I may as well get whatever, or the property back, or at least sending it to the foreclosure auction.
Sure. Sure. And who knows why people do what they do. There was a ton of equity in that deal that could have been salvaged, could have put money, but it's just getting eaten away by 24% interest because of some bad choices and just, you know, digging in.
People decide after they've been hit with the legal notice by a lawyer that they want to start cooperating with you. So that's still a possibility. We haven't filed paperwork yet. We're planning on doing that starting next week. So he might want to negotiate more with us after he receives that. I have another foreclosure in another state, actually, that's in Jason's IRA. And so their sheriff's sale date is March 7th, and my servicer received a notice from the borrower's attorney, I guess, wanting to reach out and make a deal. And so you never know what's going to happen until you start that process and put some pressure on them.
Yeah. So if, you know, it goes to 24% interest, but if you serve a notice and it start the attorney's hired and the letter goes out, if he calls you and says, okay, you win, let's work together. Now, would you have a heart and would you like kind of negotiate that 24% to make it less, or is it done? You're going to claim the 24%.
I think,
or is that just if you got to go all the way to court and he's just going to put you through hell?
Jason has a plan for that. So he wants the property. So I think that he would try to work it out with if the borrower wants to work something out and, you know, be relieved of the property.
Yeah.
Jason will help him with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. When we did this, my primary business is rental real estate and property management. My business wants that building. Emily's business, the note business, wants the note.
Gotcha. Okay.
We looked at this as we've got three options going into it for working it out. He pays it off, he goes to foreclosure, or he sells me the building.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty much it, right?
Yep.
We gave him 2 weeks to reach out so that we could discuss, you know, working it out, either paying it off or sell me the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy to give him a full price offer if he'd carry back terms.
Mm-hmm.
And we dismiss this loan and we can work everything out. And
Yeah.
then I can fix the building up in my business, and Emily's business gets her payment.
Gotcha.
He hasn't contacted us. So to me, that's still a possibility, but I'm probably not going to be willing to negotiate away all of that 24% since he's caused us the additional heartache of we've had to go or we will, as of next week, have hired the attorney and paid for filing fees and all of that stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. He's forced your hand.
So I was going to say the interesting part about foreclosure, it varies from state to state for how long it takes. Oklahoma takes about 6 months. So he's going to be accruing that 24% interest rate that whole time. That does not end until the date of the sheriff's sale. So that is quite a bunch of money that's going to be piled onto the balance of, or the legal balance, which is the amount that would be due to the owner of the note. So we're entitled to that. We're entitled to costs, legal costs, so paying the foreclosure. Generally, I budget for around $2,500 to $5,000 for a foreclosure, including the lawyer fees and court fees and that type of thing.
Gotcha. Do you guys get to make any kind of administrative fee in there? After this event, we built in a forced place insurance fee. So if you have to go to forced place insurance, we charge, I think, $300 or $500 just for that service because we have to do it. So we're adding on fees. If you're a pain in the ass, we're making, like, we call them pain in the ass fees is what we call them. So anyway, so I don't know if there's any other fees, like if you can charge an administrative fee for having to hire an attorney or anything like that.
It depends on the state and what you're allowed to add onto your legal balance. So some things you can't, some things you can. So like we got a title search. I don't think that we can actually include that in our legally owed balance, but it's making 24% interest. So.
Okay.
And in essence, I think the line in Oklahoma is anything you paid for to decide if you wanted to purchase, which is where we did that title search. You can't charge it, but if I hire somebody and send them out to go do an occupancy check or anything like that can be attached to the amount they owe.
Okay. All right. And so from what I understand, I'm starting to reach out. I'm starting to market a little bit in Dallas-Fort Worth to do some loans there, but apparently, I know this for a while, but Dallas-Fort Worth, I think you can foreclose on a house in 30 days in Dallas-Fort Worth, in Texas. Did you know that?
I think it depends on the type of loan, probably.
Okay.
Type of loan, and I believe, if I remember correctly, don't quote me, but we are a judicial state in Oklahoma. I think Texas does both judicial and non-judicial, and it's the non-judicial that's very fast.
Gotcha.
And what that boils down to is there's a few things that they can do to force it to go in front of the court, which is the one that takes longer. But Texas is very fast, even with the judicial foreclosures.
Yeah. That's what I understand. So interesting. So tell me what's your future look like? That you're trying to quit your job and you thinking about totally jumping out of your career and going full-time in the notes? That's pretty bold.
I want free time.
Yeah.
My family, my mom and dad, my grandparents, they're not getting any younger. So, and they live in Illinois and Indiana. So not super close. So my goal is to be able to, live off of money that I make by helping investors diversify their portfolio with real estate based assets and, making some money for myself while doing that and helping other people out. And then I can do travel. Like I said, visit my grandma, my mom and dad, visit Jason's mom. And so on my dream board, I found this in Robert's waiting room. Robert does Section 8 housing. And we were in his waiting room waiting to go to one of our coaching meetings. And he had a National Geographic magazine on the coffee table. And I picked it up and I'm looking at this. and it's the National Geographic private jet excursions that are like 3 or 4 week trips where you go on a National Geographic 737 that's been converted to hold no more than 30 people. And you have a private chef and a private doctor, and you have anthropologists and experts in the different fields of the places that you're going to go that come and talk to you and be your tour guide. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. And they're like $75,000 to $100,000 a person. But that's one of the things I'm going to do, and I'll take him with me someday if he's
Good boy.
You're not invited on the first one. No, that's fascinating. I've never heard of that. That's pretty cool, but that sounds pretty affordable to 3 or 4 weeks on a jet with 30 people with all those resources taking you all around and really that sounds fascinating. Will you send me a link to that? I want to see that.
They had shorter ones that were less expensive.
Yeah.
And this was 2017, I think. So the prices may be a little bit less affordable today.
Sure.
No, I keep checking. They're still the same.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Okay. No, that's pretty cool. I've never even heard of that, but that sounds really, really neat. But the cool thing about your business, you could work off a laptop, right? I mean, you can just
Exactly. I don't have to worry about people calling because their kid shoved toys down the toilet and now it won't flush or it's overflowing. Like this guy does.
Yeah.
She's only talking about something from last week.
That's awesome. Have you purchased any notes since you purchased mine? Have you purchased any others, or you just still on the hunt? Or
I'm definitely still on the hunt. I'm thinking about buying one for an investor that I'm talking to.
okay.
So we're definitely crunching some numbers to make that work out for both of us. And I'm always looking for a good deal. I think I have 8 notes right now in my portfolio since just last January, and I'm working on 3 foreclosures right now. So I feel like I need to save a little bit of money to get through those different legal battles. But
Sure.
I definitely think that there's plenty more for me to be able to accomplish.
So let's talk about your investors and kind of the opportunities you guys have for folks that want to get into note business but don't want to get their hands dirty. How do you structure that? Do you bring people into your defaulted notes as well as your performing notes? And how do you do that? And can you talk about how you do the split, what kind of returns you can deliver, and I don't know, just kind of talking about your investment opportunities.
Sure. Well, as you said, that your note was in your IRA, which is an excellent place to put notes because you can definitely grow that money tax free. So that's plus. That's a nice set it and forget it type of investment. Right now, we're looking at offering between 5 and 7% to our investors in the IRAs, or if they're just wanting cash. We actually did partner with another note investor to purchase the note that we bought from you. So that's a non-performing one that we're partnering with someone on, and we're going to be splitting the profits from that one with him.
Hold it. It was less than 6 months old, so it was performing. I just learned that.
She said, depending on the state.
Okay. All right.
It depends on what state it is where you can send the default letter. So
gotcha. Okay. All right, I got you.
Letters.
Okay. So you sold a portion of that or the whole thing?
No. So we put our money together to purchase it from you.
Okay.
And so we set up a JV agreement to split it 49-51.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
So the basics, to boil it down a little bit more simply, you can choose to do some form of a partnership where you can get a piece, for instance, like on this defaulted note, where you can get a piece of whatever the profit is, or you can loan money, or you can purchase something that is managed for you, which is more what she's talking about with the 5 to 7%.
Gotcha.
Where you receive a payment stream and we take a little piece of the payment because we're managing it for you. Sure.
And some people want the big payoff at the end. Some people want cash flow. So I guess you have a program for people and their different needs and all that. So
we have different options. Another neat option that you can do with notes is called hypothecation. And that's where I have the note as the collateral for another note. So I borrow money from an investor, and we use the mortgage note that I have already as the collateral for that note. And I've done that too.
And then us as lenders, we become a borrower, and they just receive a payment from us, irrespective of the underlying assets payment.
Okay. God, paper is so wild. You get so creative and just go down a rabbit hole. You can do so many really cool, creative things once you have those secured documents. So
it's a great way for somebody, for instance, that, if I buy a 30-year mortgage and you want to invest something and get your money back in 5 years, buying a 30-year mortgage is definitely not a good thing. And you may not want to buy the mortgage. You may just want to loan money and get paid back over the next 5 years.
Sure. So that's awesome, man. Very cool. Kind of what I do with my investors. If mine are short term, they churn. And if an investor wants to go back in, they can if they want. But some people want more steady. They don't want to think about it. They want it to run for years and not months. So yeah, and I agree with you. IRAs, I think one of the best things you do with IRAs is invest in debt, invest in mortgages and notes. It's just passive. It's easy. And it's just a great way to place money. So if people want to talk to you guys about notes, sell you notes, or invest with you, how do they reach out to you? How do they find you?
You can reach me at my website is canardcapital.com, CANARD capital, CAPITAL.com. And I have an email form. You can schedule an appointment with me through a Calendly app, and you can email or call me.
Awesome. Jason, you got any contact? If somebody wants to sell you a cheap house?
He's my administrative assistant. So
I like it. She's gonna be on the jet plane, and you're gonna be back there banging out on the keyboard, man.
Doing the dishes.
Yes, I'll be in the back working. If somebody wants to reach out to me directly, Jason at shr.llc. My company name for my rental business is Scissor Home Rentals LLC. So they can send an email to that. And
awesome.
I'm pretty good about getting back to emails within 24 hours. So if you do have a house to sell, or if you want to discuss any creative opportunities regarding houses or notes, happy to talk.
Or property management, right?
Sadly, in the state of Oklahoma, you are required to have a realtor's license to be a property manager for anything that you don't own.
That's right.
So if you do want property management, I've offered this to a limited number of people. If you sell me a piece of your property, I can manage it, but I have to have an ownership interest in the property. So
1%.
1% is all you need. Interesting.
Yeah. Once I am legally have an ownership interest in the property, I can manage it. I have no desire to get a realtor's license, do all the work I'd have to do to become a broker, and then pay for all of those additional expenses just so that I could manage other people's properties.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Jason Cameron, Emily Thompson, I really appreciate you coming on and appreciate you buying my note and bailing me out of that situation. It was awesome.
You're out for lunch if it works out.
Absolutely. It was a great experience, great transaction. You guys did what you said you were going to do. It went smooth, and I highly recommend if somebody who needs to sell a note or is looking for some way to invest money to look you guys up. So I do appreciate it. Rodney Miller, Hard Money Partner. If you guys need a loan, hit me up. If you don't, just watch the content and enjoy. Maybe you'll learn something. So we appreciate you. And guys, have a good one. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Rodney. Have a good night.
Okay, so now for the update. I got a text just 2 days ago before this posted out from Emily, and she had a picture. I'll put it up here. She showed a picture of a check she received from the defaulted borrower, and the check was for $226,000. They bought the note off of me for $180,000, and that's a $46,000 profit to them. I'm sure they have to pay some legal fees out of that and stuff like that, but they got the 24% defaulted interest. And I guess Jason kind of laid it out to the guy that this was a losing proposition for him. Anyway, so basically, long story short, so they buy a note off of me for $180 at face value, and a few months later, they get a check for $226, $46,000 profit. I'd say that the defaulted note buying business is a pretty good business to be in. And I was happy because I didn't want to screw with it. I'd prefer somebody else make the money on it, and I just go make some more loans. So it was a win-win for everybody. Really cool outcome. So keep watching us. If you need to make a loan, call me. If you're interested in investing some of these notes, give me a call too. Rodney Miller, Hard Money Partner.